Thank you very much indeed for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever in the world you're watching. Right now, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Sao Paulo. It's 11 a.m. in New York, 5 o'clock in Central Europe, 4 o'clock in the United Kingdom, and 7 p.m. in Turkey. Welcome to day 2 of our Tissue World Digital Days, from wherever in the world you're personally taking part. And joining us now for our 4th live webinar over the last couple of days, which follows on from 3 very impressive previous sessions. We've already held one focusing on Asia, a second one on an emerging engaging Yankee workshop, I should say. And then earlier this morning, we had a focus on Turkey. Right now, Tissue World has been with you, as you know, as a body since 1993. It's a unique platform where people in the industry meet, learn, and do business. And this, our first ever digital version of Tissue World, is certainly doing that for you, I hope, just as well. It was designed to be all about transformation and discussion around how tissue can thrive in these turbulent times. Although we can't be with you live, we designed this to bring you to be as close as possible to a tissue world as we knew it, and will in fact know it again into the future. But obviously these new and different times for the pandemic caused us and many other people to postpone all live events for 2020. But as a heads up now, if you're just joining us today for the first time, let us know that we're approaching 1,000 delegates who are registered for these digital days and who are enjoying the conference and the webinars with us. They're also attending from all over the world. When I last checked, we had well over 40 countries represented from right across the Americas, the UK, Europe, Africa, India, the Middle East, and of course, let's not forget Australia. All of the people involved in this program are the creme de la creme of the industry, from across the C-suite, down through executives and directors, engineers, researchers, and even some technicians. So we're surely representing the entire industry. We've also got suppliers to the industry, integrated tissue products makers, converters, jumbo roll makers, machine makers, and even some retail and distribution people, to mention just a few. I'd like to thank our key sponsors for the day who've helped bring this platform to you, our gold sponsor, Electric 80, and our silver sponsor, Solenis. As the gold sponsor, let me tell you a little bit about Electric 80 and its BEMA-designed tailored solutions that ensure a significant gain in factories and DC efficiencies. Innovative technologies automate all the material flow movements, starting from inbound packaging material all the way through to automated trailer loading of finished goods. Their solutions include palletizing robots, a wide range of automatic guided vehicles, high-speed robotic stretch wrappers, pallet control systems. They've even got robotic labelers, layer picking, and repacking solutions, and automated high-density warehouses with ASRS packed with shuttles or cranes. The entire flow of their work is centrally managed from a smart integrated logistics platform, ensuring the direct connection between production systems and optimizing all operations, from raw material reception right the way through to warehousing and shipping. From a network of offices across the Americas, they offer 24/7 customer service. And would you believe, so far they've completed over 300 integrated factories. They've installed over 2,000 robotic systems and more than 5,000 automatic laser-guided systems worldwide. That's impressive, just like our show itself. And let's move on to that right now. It's all about, as you know, that's the reason you're here, Latin America, as we look to the outlook for this dynamic, fast-developing, and important region. Let me firstly then introduce Laerten Leonardi to you. Although he's obviously a well-known figure in the industry, of course, you'll know him as I do as the managing director at Solvacon Business Consulting. And he's got a proud 35-year career across some really impressive businesses: Dow, Rhône-Poulenc, Votorantim, and Specialty Minerals. Laerten will introduce our VIP speaker for the keynote presentation, and then he's going to lead a panel discussion with several key industry leaders from across Latin America. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me proudly hand over to him. Laertenser, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Michael. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our section on Latin America drivers for sustainable success. Thanks for joining us. Well, in the next 60 minutes, we will address very important questions on our market, and you have the opportunity together to discuss the main drivers on searching on continuous improvement and sustainability in pandemic times. So let's start with our keynote speaker, and I would like to invite Nestor De Castro. Nestor is a mechanical engineering, graduated in Polytechnic School of University of São Paulo. Also, he has a master business degree from FIA University, and also he followed some other courses as advanced management program in INSEAD in France, and also in an IBGC advisor formation. So Nestor he has 33 years in career, and he worked a lot of time in Voith in Brazil, Voith paper machines here in Brazil, as president in the company, not only in Brazil, but also for South America. And also, he was part of the board of directors of the Voith paper in Germany. Nowadays, Nestor is partner of Castro Consulting and Investment, right? So, Nestor, it's up to you.
Well, good day for everybody. Thanks, Laerton, for the introduction, and thanks, TISWord, for inviting me for this presentation. I put together some slides, and they are, well, they are only teasing slides for They are teasing slides for us to get later a discussion in the panel. Well, we will talk a little bit of the outlook of COVID-19 influence in Latin America tissue market and supply chain. We will cover, first of all, what were the challenges we had during this pandemic. What was the influence of the pandemic in the market, and what are our perspectives for 2021? The challenges, yeah. One of the first challenges were really keep production running. You know, all the lockdowns and the social distanciation made a lot of difficulties in make the production running. And one of the things was, for sure, the first thing that came to all the industries is, how do I do safe work for the collaborators? This for sure increased costs. And we had to work on that, and really, I would say, successful. Well, another thing that everybody had is, if you have a shutdown or maintenance or other things that you have to do in the process, you always have to bring people into your manufacturing plant. And everybody worked out to reduce maintenance, shutdowns, postponing them as much as possible. And for sure, one of the things that we had, but we were not minded to work on, was the digital connections. And this is for sure a long time already available in the market. And we can make maintenance, inspection, auditing process, everything from the digital platform. Well, another challenge was that many of the people had to work on remote office. We are talking right now in a conference. Why are we not there? We are not there because we have this social distancing, and this happened to all the companies. We had to learn how to work on that, and even we stopped traveling, and we stopped meeting. Not for all. I mean, we have the chances to use the digital ways to do that. One of the things that we could not manage very well is that social distance for people classified as risk area. This includes production and logistic people, resulting in shortage of people everywhere. We had to work it on the how to keep production running even with less people. And for sure, as we have to see in the process on all these months, we had the distribution impacted. Some risks, lockdowns that could not do everything, but the companies successfully keep production and distribution despite of some additional costs. Innovation is necessary. Connectivity technology between people is available in all markets. It was available already. Companies are working decades in improving this technology. But the technology alone is not enough. A new mindset is needed. And mindset is something that to change is not easy. But COVID brought the sense of urgency that is making digital process to accelerate everywhere. Tissue factories have learned to protect their workforce and production, ensuring the supply of the product that was considered first need for them. Restrictions on access, motivated the use of technology, such as virtual presence technology, mainly maintenance, inspections, auditing. These digital products, in fact, are more and more being amplified, and this sense of urgency will let us some results forever. I just picked up one example. Kerber is a company that is Perini, as everybody knows. They have a long time already all tools to make this OEE and maintenance, spare parts. You can even have a virtual guy there from a center, and you can use his knowledge to solve problems. This is only one example. I mean, if we talk about all big companies like Voith, Valmet, Andritz, everybody is working in some kind of a platform to be able to make maintenance from outside virtually, and this is not a question anymore. Well, the market, it was somewhat irrational for 2 months during the early COVID-19. It has stabilized now for a more normal demand. We can see here that during 7 months, we had an increase in consumption of 4%. Even considering all the crises, after 7 months, we can see here, we were comparing to 2019. 2020 had a kind of a 10% more during some months of production. And this resulted after 7 months, for example, in Brazil, 5% more production for these months. And all over the world, we can see that in total, 4% was the enlargement of the production during these months worldwide. Now at home consumption is stable, with sharp increase in kitchen towels consumption. We have to think away from home, not the consumer now, was severely affected with government actions to guarantee social distancing. Partially, the consumption changed the address. Of course, if I'm not in an office or in a restaurant, I end up using the products at home. So partially, the consumption changed the address. Will take time to recover pre-pandemic consumption. If it happens, this is why if it happens, because many offices will not go back. I don't see schools coming back in short time, even if it's allowed, but everybody is taking classes on video and video conference, and why not keep on doing that? Everybody learned how to do that. So I don't see the consumption coming back as it was, unless, of course, the growth. We think about, of course, the impact for the companies. They were different taking from company to company, from country to country. LE, Latin America is less affected as away from home consumption proportion is less impacting. We can see here for tissue in general, we have at home, away from home. And we are far away from the consumption like in North America. So the less the percentage, the less was affected for the industry. So we can see that. But nevertheless, a change in hygienic and health habits came to stay. And this will have a permanent impact in tissue consumption. I just took a sentence from CNPC third quarter result. They have tissue volumes normalized, but personal care remains solid. Consumer tissue volumes are normalized, but away from home recovery is still low. In the positive side, personal care has remained solid, and that's a market where returns are better. No guidance on sustainable margin has given due to the macro uncertainties. You see, depending on where you are in the world, you have a different impact. If your company, for example, I have one company that I know in the United States that they produce half of their production for these cruises, So there is no cruise. So they lost all of a sudden half of their market. So the impact in this company was very, very big. Meanwhile, who was only in label, national label, they were less impacted as the consumption was kept in the consumer market. Well, what are the perspectives we see for 2021? First of all, we have to see here in Latin America, what is the history? Huh? So we can see that all countries were really, let's say, affected, and we can see the absolute numbers, but per 100,000 inhabitants, more or less, people were not very different in Latin America. We are seeing, of course, like here in Brazil, the deaths is going down, the death ratio. We are seeing in Latin America a reduction of deaths and infected people. Most of the stores and restaurants and offices reopen and are reopening. And even many industries are full operating, and this is a lack of, and there is a lack of raw material. We can talk about that later. Europe and USA are confronting a second wave of COVID. We can see some influence in this regard is the climate. So when you get to winter, you get more cases, so it's easier to be infected. Then comes to us some questions. Is there a second wave of COVID coming in Latin America? This is a question. If we see the history of other countries, yes, we will have. But of course, no, as we are delayed in relation to Europe and USA in terms of climate, we are betting that the vaccines will really be released before. So we will have a very positive impact on that. So the economy is, as we can see, the fiscal stimulus in Brazil was exaggerated high. We had 217 billion and caused a market misbalance. I can see if you have construction material, if you have to use it, you don't have to buy because everybody bought it with the money coming to all houses. We are having impact on inflation and for sure also influenced by the deep real devaluation. That was 41% only this year. This consumption was historically related to GDP, not followed the rule this year, mainly to the fiscal stimulus. You can see the monthly GDP of all selected countries here in Latin America. You have a very big drop, but not drop in tissue consumption. Part of the stimulus will end in 2020. What can we expect as a result? These are the questions that we have to discuss. And for conclusion, we have seen some impact that came to stay. I mean, companies are adapted to the pandemic and will continue producing. Impact of COVID in the companies are in supply chain, forcing the use of digital development will stay as a given. I mean, we are changing the mindset and this will stay even if we don't have in the future the pandemic. I believe that efficiency tends to improve. Changing of hygienic and health habits will be kept, again, a mindset, and will benefit tissue industry. Scenarios: no vaccine, second wave of COVID and exhaustion of fiscal stimulus will result in a very negative year of 2021. GDP will be affected negatively and the economy will suffer. Effective vaccine, recuperating economies and GDP growth, tissue industry will benefit from the positive impacts. Well, I hope taking some of these slides can give some teasing for our discussions. And I thank everybody. Yeah?
So thanks, Nestor. I would like to ask you to stay with us because after the panel, we're going to have our question session and your participation is very important. So now I would like to thank our gold sponsor, Electric 80, for sponsoring this session. So I think we're going to see right now a message from Electric 80. All right. So, before starting our panel, I would like to inform to our attendants that if you have any question, please send your written questions through the Q&A box. You are going to see this Q&A box on the bottom of our screen in the Zoom platform. Please identify yourselves and when the question is addressed, right? And after our panel, we're going to talk, we're going to try to answer to your questions. So now let's start our debate. So first I would like to invite Daniel Signori. Daniel Signori is a chemical engineer graduated in 1995 at the Federal University of Paraná and postgraduated from FAE Business School in Business Management and Marketing. Currently studying following the International Executive MBA at FIA. Involved in major expansion in different areas of Mili, a big producer here in Brazil, research and development projects, paper machine conversion, treatment of water and treatment also of solid waste, and mainly people management. Enthusiastic on technical innovation issues, this is very important, and participant of national international seminars, including as a speaker like here. So Daniel, welcome. Also, we are going to have with us this afternoon Marcelo Morris. Marcelo Morris is in the tissue market since 2004, actually commercial director in Softies Brazil, is CNPC Group, responsible for business development of infant, adult diapers, and sanitary napkins, BCTMP, pulp, and B2B, channels pharma, and e-commerce and digital transformation. So welcome, Marcelo. And finally, we have David Mckinson, as a Master of Arts degree in Economics in Georgetown University and Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science degree from University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. He manages an international team of analysts that covers FMCG in Latin America, and he is responsible for Euromonitor's relationship with the most important companies in the region. He has a deep understanding of corporate activity in the region and the current state of each industry, mainly tissue and hygiene. So, gentlemen, welcome to our talk here today. And we have seen in the Nestor presentation that we are changing, constantly changing in our environment. So the first question I'd like to address to you is, what are the positive lessons you have learned from the pandemic? What in your companies and you as a person, what you have learned with this? So I would like to invite Marcelo to start talking with us. Marcelo, what do you think?
Thank you for your question. First of all, it's possible to work by house. The home office now is our reality. Other things, it's in home we are much more productive, and then we can deliver too much more exhausting too, and then the things happen faster. You have to decide fast, and in pandemics, especially in Softies Brazil, we achieved some increased sales, especially in personal care, important increased sales. And then we have to stay more agile, more efficiently, more focused on the results. This is the points.
Right. And David, what do you think? You have a global view and also in Latin America. What do you think about the new things that we have learned in this pandemic conditions that we are living now?
Sure. Well, I think one of the most immediate effects of the pandemic was the collapse of purchases that are associated with status. such as restaurants, tourism, or even apparel. These have been replaced by goods and services related to living conditions inside one's home, where we're spending most of our time now, right? This includes everything from cooking appliances to home office, right, to cleaning supplies. I would also highlight the ability of households to adapt to a very sharp drop in purchasing power. Latin Americans have been forced to reconsider their primary needs and overall priorities in order to survive an exceptionally challenging year, right? Consumers here in Latin America are more carefully examining the cost-value relationship of products, which means brand loyalty is going to be affected, right? Private labels in tissue have been especially successful at winning market share in 2020. Finally, it is absolutely imperative to highlight the boom in e-commerce and how retailers and producers have adapted to this new normal.
And what about you, Daniel?
Hey, thank you, Leighton. You know, thanks for be part of this. I would like to thank the Agnes for this invite. Congrats for Nestor for an excellent initial presentation. So I think I will divide these lessons in two aspects. First should be the personal one. Valuing family, I guess, is very important. People that surround you, to keep you in the track, to clear and health your mind. Normally you take best decision when you are with your mind, in the right place. So urgent decision can drive you to panic, and normally panic is it's easy to face not to or not do nothing. It's very dangerous in our position, not do nothing. What we do right now, I think one of the defects also in personal perspective should be, look for positions with the same status. When you face a complete new scenario, you must hear from a different point of views what they are doing actually. I remember that in the first start, in the second half of March, I was invited for Professor Jacques Markovich and also Professor Daniel Estima for our alumni sessions with more than 100 CEOs around the world, okay? And what they are thinking, how they are dealing with the problems. It, for me, in that time was very important. I think helps a lot. And then also, we learned that broke the problem in small pieces and not to try make a big step that solve all the problems at the same time, but small steps. Then you see what the results you can get in the small steps and see if you are into progress or go into not progress. That was important, Try to see what happens using all in is not a good decision. So I think that was the thing that personally, I learned from the beginning of the pandemic, and I'm still with me right now. So in the company perspective, I think one of the big things that we're going to learn and we're going to stay at the company should be the communication. So communication between your teams, specific goals, objectives, it must be clear. I think one of the important things for us is be relevant. So when you talk with a team maker, with a professional way, it must be clear and assertive about the center of the problem. That's the thing. As the meetings must be specific, must be shorter, and with the right persons in the boat. Discover talents that you already have. That is important. You have a lot of talents inside our mills and inside our companies, and the creativity is very important. And sometimes we are so busy doing what we have to do, and we can see actually in our sites the good values that we have. So listen more. That is an important thing. Guide guide the people that work with you to get to reach the best. Crises are for sure an important opportunity. Reorganize objectives is also a thing that is very, very important for us. You know, I guess one of the things that that we need to do or to remember, it's communication, flexibilization, and adaptation. Three works. And right now, I think that kind of guide could, you know, it will be something that we're going to stay doing. That's no doubt about it.
Right. Yes. What we have seen that we must be much more flexible, much more resilient, and also one very important point: we must be much more leaders than bosses, and this is very important too. But I think I also think that it's very important not only our internal relationship inside our companies, but also we have to consider all the value chain. So in terms of innovation, because when we talk about innovation, we don't talk only about new products or new process, but also we talk about administrative process. So do you think that we have some innovations in our supply chain system? I mean, should we be more flexible, and should we learn to share our resources inside our value chain? So is this an innovation in terms of value chain administration? So David, what do you think? You have again an overall picture in Latin America, not only in Brazil. Do you think that we are ready to have this integration in our value chain?
Well, I guess I'll start talking about disruptions in the retail and the away from home channel within the context of the tissue industry, right? That's the big story. Hoarding or the panic buying that was so common in the United States and in Europe. It wasn't as common in Latin America. And since the away from home channel here is much less developed, it means that the channel shift from institutional to retail was also much less dramatic, which is a positive, right? I would like to talk about e-commerce again. I guess that's a story that keeps coming up. It's been steadily growing over the last decade, but COVID has been instrumental in accelerating that growth, right? I would highlight the role of last mile players in e-commerce, such as Corner Shop and Rappi. If you've never used a last mile player, it's something that will change your life. I personally haven't been inside of a supermarket since 2019, so kind of crazy. Another interesting thing is, some manufacturers are actually bypassing retailers entirely and attempting to reach consumers directly, mainly through social media. This applies to different industries. And while tissue is not the exception, it is much more common to see at a small or local level. Another innovation that I saw last week, department stores. I live in Santiago, Chile. So department stores such as Ripley, which also exists in Peru, are selling all kinds of items through their online platforms, including toilet paper. I think this versatility is really interesting, and I think it's necessary and fundamental for overcoming these large-scale interruptions, right? Euromonitor's, moving back to away from home for a second, and then Euromonitor's projections for the away from home segment, we don't actually expect a full recovery until at least 2023. That's based on the consumer food service segment and the thousands of permanent closures seen during this year, as well as the collapse of the travel and tourism industry. Just this morning, we were trying to quantify losses related to Rio not having a carnival this year. And finally, the very gradual return to corporate offices that we're seeing. And when people do feel comfortable and secure to return to their offices, we still want to use them, right? You know, I think it's been mentioned earlier in this panel. I personally, I mean, it's actually the first time that I've had a private office in my life, which is my my apartment, and I'm quite efficient and quite productive here. So there are things that we have to kind of consider in defining what a new normal is, and especially in the context of, you know, identifying what innovations in the supply chain will be most relevant.
All right. And Daniel, what do you think?
You know, normally the comfort zone is something that you get used, you know. Change the things that are nice to do to urgent demands, and then work with your team and transform urgent demands into a nice to do product or process. It's a challenge. When you talk about in supply chain, what the big difference that we need to do, and we need to do very fast in the beginning of the crisis, it was long-term adjustments and agreements. You know, I just saw that in USA, for instance, in the second half of March, the increase was more than 800% of the demand. So it's almost impossible. 8 times your demand. There is no supply chain that can solve it. So Brazil was less than this, of course, but we face at the Mili, because we do have more than 20,000 clients around Brazil. All the clients, you know, the small supermarket chains or the large retailers are asking for a lot more than normally. What we need to do is, you know, more commitment between the chains partners. The volume could be adjusted, of course, and the flexibility with respect of truly cost variations, because normally what happens when you change your supply chain, you change also the volume or the time that you need to make your or agreement. So you need to trust when are with you, because the other way it will be impossible to fix nowadays. Like Nestor just showed to us, the inflation is a very you know, ghost that we do have around here. So you know, as I said, more commitment and trust is a very important thing. New tools. I think new tools involving communications and connections. It's old tools, but you know, with new faces, adapt for the new reality, like the lean process, just in time, Six Sigma, including raw materials, and also speaking with the retailers or the supermarkets, finished products. So we need a very fast communication, and I know very efficient one. Transparent trust, it's a 2 keys words in this new world of supply chain. We must find a new balance in the entire chain, you know. We need to remember that the link, the weak link will determine the quality and the speed of the entire process. So that includes raw material and also the final product. That's one thing that you must understand, and it's a question of survive. We must to be in the side of all the links, all the chain must have the same directions. Directions, of course, is the customer and his new way to see how to get the products.
Right. And what about you, Marcelo? What do you think? And what's the softest vision in terms of supply chain changes nowadays and for the future?
Definitely, the market is a omni-channel. The consumer will be buy products in more than 5 points or 10 points, different points, and these channels have to convey sometime. The order is how we can supply to the consumer. because consumer can choose buy for Pão de Açúcar delivery or by Rappi or corner shop or goes directly to offline store. And then this transformation I think that accelerated took many years to us. And we can understand that we can sell the different forms for different channels for different ways. This is, for me, the most important transformation that we have in this couple of months.
All right. Yes, it's a time of changes, and now the most important point in our chain is the most important part in our chain is the consumer. And do you think that we talk and Nestor send us give us some information on our market? Also, David discussed a little bit about that. But do you think that our consumer behavior is different now after the COVID? Is the consumer behavior changing? What do you think? And Daniel, if you want to start.
Okay, like, in the first moment it was just panic, okay? So the panic is, you don't need to read the panic. Panic is panic for everybody. Suddenly, what happens before was no loyalty. No loyalty at all. That means that, the demand was completely without label. It doesn't matter if it was MIDI, if it was CMPC, doesn't matter. I just want to reach the product, The third thing I think was most point is go to home, as we said before. It was in the presentation that some colleagues, pointed very well. Go to home and go to digital, even in the different age ranges, So that means that right now we do have a different kind of perspective in customer. They are used to use the go to home and go to digital. So you must learn, you must understand that. And this is I think is very important behavior. Companies have to run different distribution channels. My colleague just said, omni-channels, exactly. The search of the present and the future should be the different ways to reach and to fulfill the needs of our different customer. So Attention needs a strong partnership with our traditional and new potential customers. That won't be the key for the growth of the maturity of the market that we already have. So you must understand that if you go to the river once, it will be just one. The river will be different, and the person that goes to the river will be different too. Right now, it's brand new, it's completely new, and we must learn and understand what they are thinking and try to do before our competition, of course. That should be the idea,
All right. And David, what do you think?
I just read last week that income from wages in Latin America has fallen by 19% in 2020. And that's compared to a global average of just 11%. So the most affected consumers in Latin America will be the region's lower middle classes. So therefore, we expect some changes in their behavior, right? For example, I mentioned this earlier, we expect continued growth in private labels. That's a trend that we have already seen across the region in 2020. On the bottom end of the economic spectrum, we might also see a resurgence in what we call daily purchases. So instead of weekly or monthly ones, right? So within tissue, that means small grocery retailers like neighborhood almacenes or bodegas, selling individual or single format items, such as a single roll of tissue paper. On the upper end of the economic sector spectrum, we may not expect to see too many changes in their behavior. but something interesting that we've seen so far this year, paper towels, kitchen towels, has seen its best year ever in the region, growing at rates of over 20 and even 30% in various Latin American countries. That's partially related to the fact that we're spending a lot of time at home, right? That's partially related to, attention towards hygiene, increased attention towards hygiene. We expect that positive inertia to actually continue during the forecast period.
Right. And Marcelo, what do you think? What about your customers?
Definitely the behavior changed because e-commerce increased too much sales this year, absurdly. In the end of this month, we have a Black Friday. Our expectation is a biggest Black Friday that we have since last 5 years. The consumer now believe trust that e-commerce is a reality. It is confident and can use this for complement your demand, go or no go in the stores. And this, like home office, e-commerce helps to customize time to your life, to give this time to your life, and then this definitely increase and more double digit or 3 digits in next 2 or more years, and then we're growing fast, so fast. Categories, different categories increase sales too, like paper towels. People start to use much more paper towels than used before the pandemic, and then this is another behavior that people, especially in Brazil, that not so penetrate the category, but paper tissue is much more, but towels not, increase sales too. And then I believe that stay this category for most times.
All right. So now we have time for questions, but before our Q&A session, I would like to ask Michael and to Agnes to send us again the message from Electric 80, because we had some technical problems. We didn't hear quite well. So if you want to run the video again, go ahead, Michael.
We'll do that in just a moment or so. I think there are 2 questions in the box for now. I see a couple have been live answered by our panelists.
Do you want to go straight to the Q&A?
If you're okay with Q&A, and then leave me 4 or 5 minutes in 6 minutes time to close it out, and I'll show the videos again. Thanks, lad.
Okay. So the first question is from Andy Ismutnik. Have you seen any evidence of curing your technical production issues with virtual consulting rather than in place? I think this question is good to Daniel and to Marcelo, but also with comments from David.
Should I start?
Sure, go ahead.
Right, that is easy, we must do that. After, the second quarter of March, we just closed our mills. We didn't know in that time how should be, the effect of the COVID inside our production lines. We are facing extremely increase of our demand and extremely difficult to understand what should be the right way to protect our employees. The first thing that we did was exactly close the mills, close completely for all kind of, maintenance or visits that we need maintenance, we need technical visits. So that was almost, completely automatic that we need to learn from different tools. We just spoke here. The different tools was the major big players and big companies that have give to us technology to try to make the best into our mills. They are in the same boat. So they was running to give to us some tools to decrease the need of go inside our mills. I think most of them succeed. Of course, some of them take a lot of time, and there are some of them that is almost impossible. But what happened between this March until now, if you compare from the rest of the history of maintenance, it'll be like, rocket science. It was amazing. So right now, the answer for me, for my side, is most of more important maintenance could be done with the digital tools and, long distance meetings or using cameras and so on.
Right. And what do you think, Marcelo?
I completely agree with Daniel. We imported a mask machine, and we start to organize the mask machine for virtual videos. No presence for technicians from China from here. And then this changed completely. The digital learning, the digital technicians is possible with video, with cameras, with presence, like us here.
Right. And David, I have another question for you from Christian Vergara. He's asking, are Latin American mills open to partner with innovative new players in the e-commerce marketplaces who help them keep their brands relevant in rise of private labels? What do you think?
Sure. I'll briefly explain what actually a last mile player is. So it's essentially a personal shopper. So I'll go onto my cell phone and I'll open up the Corner Shop application, and I'll make a list of everything that I want, and then I'll send it to that personal shopper, right? That personal shopper goes to the same supermarkets or retailers that I previously gone to before, right? Latin American mills don't actually need to make partnerships with these innovative players. All they're doing is essentially acting as intermediaries, as personal shoppers for consumers that don't want to go, right? An option there is, before you actually check out on these applications, they will present, the day's discounts or sales to you, which are often the exact same as what you might find in the physical store. So I don't think mills actually have to, look for new partnerships. The pressure here is the fact that the private label brands are competing on price, right? So for price-sensitive Latin American consumers, people that have lost their jobs in 2020, people that are facing increased economic uncertainty, right? Those shoppers are going to be trying to trade down or trade across as much as possible. And that's why I mentioned earlier, brand loyalty might be affected because, if a private label has a lower selling price, they're going to pick that regardless of the quality, regardless of the product. So,
right. Yep. Good. So we have time for one more question. And this question I would like to ask to Nestor, as you are a special technical consultant to ABTCP right now, the Pulp and Paper Technical Association. And this is a very interesting question. We don't have the identification who sent the question, but the question is very interesting because the question is, I have been seeing new launches in the industry, especially for ecological packaging. Do you believe COVID's pandemic gave time to think about new trends? Remind you that this morning we had a very interesting presentation on that. So do you think that you have some space for ecological packaging in the tissue business?
Well, this is already happening. I mean, if you see, I can say that it's on the media, but Damapel and so they are producers, and also Copapa, they are producing the eco-labeled tissue. I mean, even with the packaging. This is already being developed some years already. I mean, all the converters, they have systematic to make the packaging in paper. The main problem we have, and this is a difficulty for not only for tissue but also for other grades, is that we need a barrier of water, barrier of ultra UV, and these unfortunately still makes the paper solution expensive. And but you know, maybe paper is not looking for to be cheaper. We are looking at some quality bringing from there. Of course, people will choose the thing on the in this environmental friendly process, and I think this is something that we really believe will happen, not only in tissue and everywhere, but really everybody is working a lot on these barriers, and mainly biodegradable barriers. I mean,
all right, good. So I think we are on time. We have some other questions, but unfortunately we don't have time to answer to every very interesting questions. So we hope that all of you have had a good view of the present conditions, and the future scenario is waiting for us. So let's build our future together. I think this is the right moment to think about the future and to build the new future together. We have market opportunities in Latin America, we are competitive, and we have a very good and very competent people, right? Very outstanding people. So let's make our future a brilliant future. I think this is our message. So I would like to thank Nestor, Marcelo, David, and Danielle for sharing with us your knowledge and your vision. This is very important to share your vision with us. Thanks for our sponsors for the support, and thanks mainly, a special thanks to the Tissue World team, which make possible to have us together to debate about our business. So thanks a lot for this opportunity, Tissue World guys, and let's keep pushing. Michael is with you.
Well, Laerten, what can I say? I can't believe the time has flown by so quickly. And I guess that's what happens when you get the quality of discussion in the industry, and it just engages everybody. I was glued to the screen, couldn't believe it when I looked at my watch. So thank you all. As you say, there are still
like British, right?
Exactly. So there are still some questions to be answered. I'll ask our panelists while I'm closing out to just quickly go on and type a very quick reply to any that they're able to do so, if I may. And as you said, first of all, before I thank everybody and close, let's now take a look at that video one more time from our gold sponsor, Electric 80. I'm sure we're ready to roll it, this time with sound. Let's have a look. There's certainly a whole lot going on there and lots of things to think about as well. So once again, thank you to our sponsors on behalf of everybody at Tissue World in that particular regard, to all of you, the presenters, and of course you, the delegates. You know, I didn't mention our silver sponsor yet. I should do. Solenis. They're a leading global producer of specialty chemicals for water-intensive industries, including the pulp and paper industries, as well as others like oil and gas, and a whole bunch of others. The company's portfolio includes a broad array of process, functional, and water treatment chemistries, as well as both state-of-the-art monitoring and control systems. When you get involved with Solenis, their technologies you'll discover are used by customers to really improve their operational efficiencies, to enhance their product quality, look after and protect their plant assets, and minimize the environmental impact at the same time. I also believe we have a short video from Solenis. Let's take a quick look. Agnes, are we ready to roll that? Yes.
At Solenis, we are more than just a chemistry supplier. We are a solutions partner for our clients. Let us serve as an extension of your own R&D. Contact your Solenis technology partner for more information.
So there you are. Grateful to both of those sponsors, and I'm glad we were able to squeeze in both of their videos there as well. You know what those companies are all about, folks. Go and support them if you will. The reason we were on this platform as well with our webinar is to make sure that as part of the overall Tissue World Digital Days, you get a chance to network to your heart's content in these strange pandemic times. I want you to make sure that you're using the full opportunity to meet, network, and engage with your industry colleagues from around the world. I popped onto the platform just before the webinar. A couple of people wanted to chat to me, so I was able to do that as well, which is absolutely superb. So that's our webinar for today. We're going to be back with you tomorrow for our final webinar. From South America, we move to North America for a focus there, and we have a very special VIP guest interview. Let me remind you of that again, a very special industry VIP guest interview. It's so good, it could make CNN and other news channels. Make sure you're tuning in for that. In Sao Paulo tomorrow, we'll be broadcasting that live at 12 o'clock noon. We'll be at 10 a.m. in New York if you're watching us from the eastern side of America, or if you're over on the western coast, it's 7 a.m. on Los Angeles, as well as 3 o'clock in Europe. We really look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you to all of you for joining us in terms of this afternoon's webinar, this morning's webinar for you, and it really has been a pleasure presenting. On behalf of all of us, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day remaining and a really good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.